Today's video is a bit difficult for me, but I have to make it because India, just like Israel, has a very special place in my heart. I understand India has also been fighting the same demon, same beast that Israel has been fighting, and I personally have been fighting. But that doesn't mean that I should be dishonest with you. I have been trying to warn Indians for many years that Indian fatigue is growing in the West, especially in Australia. Narendra Modi just came to Australia, and people of Australia are not happy. People of Australia are saying that Indians are swarming Australia. Now, if you're an Indian, you would say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I'm sorry to break it to you. The age of multiculturalism is coming to an abrupt end. Yes, the Islamists are the most visible bad examples of multiculturalism, but multiculturalism on its whole is not working. One way of saying that multiculturalism is failing is looking into the loyalties immigrants give to their ancestral cultures. I've said it before. I think gone are the days when you live in Britain or you live in Australia, but when your home country visits Australia or Britain, instead of supporting your new adopted country, you're supporting your home country. And we have seen that even in second and third generations of Indians and Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. Again, I'm not picking on individuals. That basically exposes how, again, I'm not picking on individuals, but I'm only highlighting you that the idea of multiculturalism isn't working. Now, that's not to say that brilliant Indians have contributed immensely to America. We've seen that in America. We've seen that in Britain. We've seen that in Australia. I can show you some good statistics. Indians constantly, for some reason, out of all third world countries, Indians are the only people who pay more tax, who are least welfare dependent, and they're always underrepresented when it comes to crime or prison population. Look at this. This is Indian, Chinese, and white ethnic groups had the highest median income in Britain. Indians are at the top. And who's at the bottom? Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. Okay? That's just the UK. Let me show you America. Look at this. Indian Americans are at the top when it comes to median US household income, $126,000. So let me show you another statistic. And it's the same in Australia as well, by the way. Look at the welfare consumption. India is not on that list. Benefits claim per 1,000 nationality in the UK. Look at this. Indians or Hindus are underrepresented. Only 0.4% of them are incarcerated, well below the national average. So, yes, Indian migrants are the best out of the lot, okay, out of all third world countries. Even if you compare them with first world country migrants, they still, on so many metrics, perform better than other immigrants. But that doesn't mean that multiculturalism itself works, or that doesn't mean that natives should not be concerned about the inundation of a foreign culture, which is Indian. For example, let me show you this. There is a common belief that in Australia, there is a housing shortage because of excessive migrants coming in from India. Have a look at this. This is an auction in Adelaide. Look at the people. Most of them are Indians. There's not a single white person that I can see. And that is making people resentful towards migration. This is the reason why right-wing political parties like One Nation are growing. And they're not just anti-Islam, okay? The whole idea of multiculturalism is failing. And people in Australia should also oppose to it, even if you're an immigrant, because that's the whole point of immigration. You need to show loyalty to the country that you live in, okay? Last time when Prime Minister Modi came here, this is a good point made by the cyberpunk dingo. Again, please don't take it the wrong way, my dear Indians. Just like you have a right to protect your culture and your way of life, and you have done that immensely well in India, you are the only surviving culture that was invaded by Islam, yet you maintained your identity. Just like that, all other cultures have a right to protect their way of life. Look at this. Pay very close attention to this. Last time Modi was here, I found it absurd. An entire stadium was packed with people who supposedly were assimilated, showing loyalty to a foreign leader. So this is his current tour. Watch this. Let me play you Channel 9's report on Prime Minister Modi's current trip.
Melbourne is gearing up to host India's Prime Minister, who touches down here in just a few hours. Narendra Modi is here for a 3-day visit when he'll meet with Anthony Albanese and address a packed Marvel Stadium. Edward Godfrey reports.
It looks like preparation for a concert, but this is no gig. It's bigger.
It's a phenomenal occasion. It's a momentous occasion.
The main act, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Melbourne is playing host and he'll be joined by our PM.
There'll be a range of announcements that we make together. India is such an important relationship for Australia.
Prime Minister Modi's visit prompting a cross-border pilgrimage, a convoy travelling from Adelaide. When he last visited Australia in 2023, he greeted a Sydney stadium filled with 20,000 people.
There's 20,000 people. Let me ask you, I know because Indian culture inherently is not antithetical to Western culture, Indians don't do the kind of things that Muslims do. There's no epidemic of child marriage or anything else, but it is still a different culture. It is still, I'll tell you about this. Fraud is very common, which is why even India is busting a lot of fake degree rackets, syndicates coming out of India. There was a report recently done where a lot of supposedly Indian doctors were actually fake doctors. Now, I understand that culture. I actually understand third world culture. It's very easy. Bribe government officials, bribe even private companies, and you can get anything done. So when you have a sudden influx of people from India, then they're going to bring in those cultural values as well. Littering is another one. How many videos we've seen of people, Indians and Pakistanis too, littering on the streets? That's why this fatigue is growing. And back in the day, the very best of India used to come to Australia, which is why I think a lot of immigrants are actually also saying that we need to stop immigration. Look at this poll. This poll was just conducted recently. One Nation. Look at this. Other languages at home. 35% of bilingual Aussies, meaning they are immigrants, 35% of them want to vote One Nation. The biggest for any other political party. Labour and Greens are the second biggest, and they are a distant second, 21%. So most immigrants are also realizing that, a lot of immigrants, obviously not most, because it's still 35%, not 50%. Immigrants are also realizing that this immigration has to slow down. But what Modi is demanding? Modi is demanding Indian visa program to be expedited. He's asking the Australian government to ease visa conditions for Indian visa applicants. Why? Well, you know what is happening? Because of that, this is what's happening. This guy is a patriot, and he heckled Prime Minister Modi. This country is for Australians, F Modi, F India. We don't want any more Indians. And that sentiment is going to grow because you cannot inundate any country. I'm looking at some countries, like I looked at Latvia. There were so many Indians there, even Latvians were like, who's letting them in? You cannot overwhelm any culture with people from India or any other culture, not just India. Well, as I said, like, yes, Indians are not a societal risk. Indians are not as much a societal risk as the Islamists. But if a lot of Indians come to Australia, then Australian culture will be diluted, which obviously the natives are going to fight back. And I always say this, Australia should remain 90% white. It should remain 90% white. Anyone who says otherwise is a traitor to Australia. Listen to this guy.
Modi is here to ensure that his diaspora keeps sending the money home. It's called remittance, and it's a direct wealth transfer from the pockets of Australians to the development of foreign states. Last year, $56 billion in total outbound remittances left the country. $11 billion of that was to India. That's billions of dollars in capital that didn't stay to build an Australian business, nor did it fund Australian infrastructure, and it certainly didn't circulate back into our own economy.
Okay, that's a dumb argument. Okay, that's a very dumb argument. So these people are sending money home that they are earning here in Australia. And Australia does not have excessive labor force, okay? We do have a legitimate shortage of nurses and doctors and whatever or whatnot. Even tradies are in a short supply in Australia. So what do we do with that? Should we give them a pathway to Australian permanent residence or citizenship? No. We should give them work visas, kind of like what the UAE does, those rich Gulf countries do. Bring them in, let them work, because we need work. We need work done. We need it. So pay them the fair wage, and then don't give them a pathway to citizenship. So what do you want to do? Like, there's so many job vacancies and we don't have enough workers. What are you going to do? You don't want to pay them? Do you want to open gulags? Dumb argument.
It's a literal extraction of wealth. That's why Modi is visiting. Why does this happen? Because other nations, like India, are actually playing for keeps. They have built an entire state-level infrastructure, digital payment links, specialised investment bonds, and active diaspora outreach to ensure that every cent spare earned by their people abroad finds its way back home. They view their...
That's perfectly fine. If an Aussie skilled labourer goes to America, then of course he's going to send money back home to Australia. Like, what's the problem?
Diaspora as an economic asset for their own nation building. Meanwhile, our so-called leaders view us as a globalized zone where borders are optional and capital should flow wherever the highest yield is. You're being told that multiculturalism is about vibrancy and tolerance, but the reality, it's about the systematic transfer of your work and earnings into the infrastructure of foreign powers.
No, your work. Again, I don't. He's making some good points, but the whole argument of sending capital overseas is that's just. What do you want them to do? They're working, bro. They're getting paid for their services.
When nearly 2% of our total GDP is leaving the country as private transfers, don't wonder why infrastructure might be crumbling or not built at all, housing is unaffordable, and the economy feels stagnant. We are literally paying to build.
You know how much money people from Gulf countries sent back? Billions, a lot of billions, a lot more than Australia, because those rich Gulf countries have the same problem. They don't have enough workers. So what do? You bring in workers from third world countries, you get cheap labor. The only point that I would make here is that we should not be giving them pathways to citizenship. That's where multiculturalism comes in. That's where the dilution of our culture comes in. So you should stop that from happening, but you can't really stop paying people for their work. Okay, dumb video. I don't know who sent it to me. Stupid video. Let's finish this report by Channel 9.
And was given a rock star welcome.
Prime Minister Modi is the boss.
Oh my God.
Tomorrow, more than 30,000 will feel marvel.
That cringe was our Prime Minister. Look at him. He's simping for him. May as well get down on your knees.
Tomorrow, more than 30,000 will fill Marvel Stadium. Tickets selling out within hours. There'll be cultural performances and speeches on bilateral relations and free trade.
90% of Australian goods enjoy tariff-free access to the Indian markets.
Mr. Modi enjoys approval ratings around 70% in his home country, and even...
That's fine. It's reciprocal, I'm assuming. Tariff-free, and it's the same thing. The same thing is happening in New Zealand. Didn't Prime Minister Modi go to New Zealand as well? And the Kiwis are also saying the same thing. They're saying that we are being inundated with Indian migrants. Come on, guys, respect other people's cultures.
Stronger numbers among expats. The head of the globe's largest democracy and one of the fastest growing economies, commanding the attention of world leaders everywhere he goes.
Well, this gentleman came, and that's a big get.
But he's not.
And you know what? I'm actually a fan of Prime Minister Modi as well. He's a nationalist. He loves India, and he's protecting India from the Islamists. I'm actually a fan of Prime Minister Modi. And look, and you can't really blame him. We can only blame our politicians. Why can't they grow a spine? Of course, Prime Minister Modi is going to look out for the best interest of Indians and India.
Without his detractors.
There are a lot of human rights concerns in India. We want Australia's Prime Minister to raise those human rights concerns.
That's bullshit. No human rights concerns. That's absolute BS. Well done, Prime Minister Modi. Do it. Prime Minister Modi knows how to handle the Islamists and all of these so-called human rights BS, it's always the same people, the same people, guys, everywhere. And I think we need to stop lecturing developing countries about their human rights records, because this is exactly what's happening in the West now. Oh, these Islamists, they have their human rights. And what do? They blow up, they stab people, they come out after 5 years because you've got Western laws applicable on even these barbarians. No, this is unfair criticism. There are no human rights concerns in India. Well done, Prime Minister Modi. Keep doing what you're doing.
When he meets with Prime Minister Modi.
And Edward Godfrey is at Marvel Stadium tonight. Ed, Melbourne's growing Indian community is getting very excited.
It sure is, and work is in full swing at the moment here at Marvel Stadium. There are teams of workers getting everything ready for tomorrow night when 30,000 people will be packing out this stadium. They would have sold even more tickets if they had the capacity, they believe. So a big audience here, but an even bigger one back in India, where it's estimated up to 300 million people will be tuning in online and watching television, watching their Prime Minister's appearance here. He is very popular, Tom, but he does have his detractors. There is a possibility of protests and interruptions, which we've seen with visits in the past, and Victoria Police are on alert for that.
There will be protests now, not only by the Islamists and probably the Sikhs, because there's a separatist movement going on in India. Well, actually, not in India. For some reason, Prime Minister Modi is a good prime minister. Let me tell you that, and he's doing best. He's doing what's best for his country, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do what's best for our country, for Australia. Australia cannot afford millions of migrants coming from India. We can't without paying a very heavy social cost. So yeah, my dear Indians, I hope reasonable Indians will understand, but I don't think they can do anything because, again, like, that's not how cultures or countries operate. They do what's best for them, and that's why Australia should do what's best for Australia. But Anthony Albanese is not going to do it. He's a simp. He's a loser. The worst prime minister in Australia's history.